Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I've got a lot of good fortunes every time I've sang the Peter Dislike prayer. And if it's Easter Sunday, I want to get as many people to join me in singing the Peter Dislike prayer as many times as possible. Sing with me, gesture at your screen, and definitely leave a dislike on this video. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Come on, sing with me. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Let me give you an idea of how powerful this Peter Dislike prayer has been. I was viewing the solar eclipse in Kerrville, Texas, in April of last year, and it was really cloudy, and I was so disappointed. I had driven 2 days to go. To give you an idea how disappointed I was, I wanted to see if I could place a sports bet on the weather in Kerrville. I was going to bet against myself so that if the solar eclipse got clouded out, I would at least have some money to do something else. That I was thinking of doing that, but I decided to not do that because I wanted to enjoy my time there anyway, to mingle with people, even if we got to see nothing. Very seldom do I get to find people who have common interests, right? And I led the rest of the group to singing the Peter Dislike prayer. We all looked up to the sky, sang "Bum Bum 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 Peter Dislike Show," and sure enough, the clouds disappeared just as totality was coming. That was a really beautiful sight, especially since we had been praying for it. And my recent returning to the dating scene has been marked by Peter Dislike prayers. My friend at church, he runs a meetup group as well. He helped me get back into the dating scene. And the whole week leading up to that date, I was lost and confused. I was physically ill, actually. And singing the Peter Dislike jingle helped me get through that. And what was really funny is that you guys may remember I had offered a reward for anybody to set me up on the blind date. And I was so once we got to the it was a group date, and once we got to the restaurant, I was so eager to give him that reward because I needed it off of my chest, and he looked and he couldn't believe what he was seeing, and he didn't believe I would give it to him, and he said he doesn't want it, and I told him I had to give it to him because otherwise I'll always have this bad karma and wonder what would have happened. He agreed, so he took it, and it's really nice because it got him interested in investing in precious metals, right? And so it was all good. It's hard for me to find people with common interests. So I sang Peter Dislike. In fact, I excused myself to go to the bathroom after after my date had arrived and we had introduced ourselves. I excused myself to go to the bathroom to jump around and sing Peter Dislike. I wish I had recorded that. I don't think I was recording at that moment. I was just so upbeat and also nervous and all that. And I'm so glad I went out with her because just 2 weeks later, my grandmother passed away. My father's mother. She passed away just 2 weeks later. And then I went to the funeral. At the funeral, I kept singing Peter Dislike. My dad was so upset at that concept. He says nobody's going to understand you. They're just gonna hear you dislike somebody. And other families had shown up, and I explained that it was my I was upset about the death, and I was disliking the concept of death. And even then, my dad was still pretty upset at the remark. And then I doubled down on that by asking my grandmother to set me up on a blind date with one of Mary Curry's, go talk to Mary Curry and have her set me up on a blind date. My dad was so upset at the remark. He almost wanted to drag me out of the funeral home. That's how upset he was at the remark. Now, Mary Curry discovered polonium 210. Polonium is now made from bismuth, so I left a small chunk of bismuth in the casket of my grandmother, and the casket was cremated. So in the urn, I was hoping we would get a look at the ashes before we closed it up. I wanted to see how it turned out. But in the urn, there's presumably a very beautiful bismuth crystal, and then after I left the funeral, I went back to my hotel, and for some reason, I felt compelled to go onto this online dating app that I had not used in more than 4 years at that point. I don't know why. It was probably the higher power directing me to do that. And also, I felt compelled to take some new photographs and rewrite everything on there. Not long after that, I was chatting with this girl in Taipei, and she was wishy-washy about wanting to meet up for that first time. And there was only 3 more days before I had to come home to the United States, and I was panicking. And so I kept singing Peter Dislike. I encouraged everybody at the hotel to sing Peter Dislike with me. And sure enough, I got to see her just in the nick of time, the night before I left for the trip back home to the United States. Now, in the last 3 months, we've had waves of up and down. I think right now she she explained that the reason she hadn't been talking to me much was that she's been very upset about the politics situation of the United States, and she hopes that I understand that, and it's all good. And so that's all good again. But last week, I was really nervous. I thought she had ghosted me for good, and so I kept singing Peter Dislike. I kept recording videos asking people to pray for me. There was another time Peter Dislike answered my prayers. What had happened was I had traveled to Houston to go see a girl I met on Bumble, but unfortunately, I made the mistake of I forgot that my driver's license was expiring and I couldn't rent a car when I got there. But it was okay because I took an Uber around and I actually had more energy that way. Had I driven during the time I was there, things might not have turned as well as they did. Let's put it that way. I was staying in a hostel and some of my roommates were not very nice, and they could have vandalized the rental car, or they could have done something wacky, and certainly I was not in the mood to be driving. So that was good that um, the God of dislikes answer my prayers by making me forget about renewing the license. So all good now. I got an up-to-date license now, and unfortunately, I didn't hit it big with the girl in Houston, but we continue to be close. In fact, the girl in Houston gave me some suggestions on how to handle the situation with the girl in Taiwan, and I helped her with how she could get. Her parents are not very approving of another guy that she's seeing, and so I helped with some wisdom on that too. So it's good that we have each other. But let's pray that the tariffs will end. I think when the tariffs finally end, the price of bismuth will crash big, because you got to remember bismuth is a mining byproduct, mostly a byproduct of mining copper, lead, and silver. And China's not stopping any of that, right? And so you're just accumulating a big pile of bismuth. And as soon as the gates open, I expect bismuth prices to crash. They might even go negative like oil a few years ago. I can't wait. So please pray for that to hurry up and happen. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.